Good morning and welcome to this next TEDx coffee club conversation, and I'm really delighted today to welcome Taylor Yates, who is the founder of Taylor Yates. Taylor, you're very welcome.
Thank you very much.
And it's really, really nice to see you in person. Taylor, you know, we've known each other for quite a while now, and this is a different circumstances.
Yeah, no Zoom today.
No Zoom, but it's really, really, really nice, and I think people are really going to enjoy hearing a little bit about your story.
Thank you.
So, I suppose to get started, I know you and I know a little bit about your background, but it would be really good for you to tell us a little bit about your journey to where you've got to today.
And how I ended up here.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about it the other day. I arrived here in Northern Ireland, that is, just before my 23rd birthday. So straight out of what was poly in those days. Had my degree, went for a job, excuse me. Went for a job in very close to home actually, but it turned out it was a Northern Irish company. So within a week of arriving, I was told I had to come to Derry, Dromahoe for a number of weeks, and just got on a plane and came, because that's what you do when you're 23, you just go,
and
why
somebody
not?
tells you,
Yeah. And had what ended up being an amazing 15 years with a company who unfortunately are no longer here, but they're called Desmond and Sons.
Yeah.
Made clothes for Marks and Spencer's. But it was interesting because I was really lucky to get on a graduate scheme. I learnt loads. Told my mum I was coming for 2 years, but actually, because originally I'm from Warrington near Manchester, but actually I just loved it. A girl from Ballymena helped me find the first place I was going to live, and it was Portstewart. And I remember.
Is that how you ended up in Portstewart? Wow,
I remember driving into Portstewart and Dominican College and the sea, and it was one of those days that delivers the blue sky, which I now understand is, maybe not that often. And I just thought, whoa, this is incredible. I can live by the sea, and the place I got was literally, a flat on my own with a sea view, and I just thought, okay, I can do this. And everybody here thought I was crazy because it meant I had to drive 45 minutes to work every day. But coming from England, that was, nothing.
A usual commute?
I was driving 11 miles and it was taking me over half an hour, so this was just a dream. But I suppose what happened then was I was in London every week because my job as a commercial manager was to work with M&S. So we had a design team that worked with us, we had a technical team, we had the factories. We used to drive around Northern Ireland on a Monday to whichever factories you were responsible for, because we had to make sure that they had the work, and we were responsible from literally at the design stage with the designers getting that sold, getting that bought, doing the negotiating, and then once it got into the factory, we were the front line in terms of M&S, making sure it all happened. And I did that, like I say, for 15 years. Through that, in fact, I was only here a year, and I went on a skiing holiday. And I met the man that everybody knows, my husband, Russell, who I met him on a skiing holiday in Austria. And wow. I was living in Portstewart. He was from Portstewart.
That's just a typical Northern Irish thing, isn't it? Really?
Well, yeah. and I remember, actually, funny you say that, but I remember sitting in the canteen in Dromahoe in one of my first few weeks when we were all had to make a sweatshirt and do all that sort of stuff. And everybody around the table, a bit like this, and they were all chatting about, oh, do you know this one and that one, and the connections. And I thought, I will never, ever know that many people. But, fast forward a few decades, and I think I'm quite like that as well.
Yeah, well, and very well connected, Con, because there's a number of things you're involved in, but one of the things I thought would be really good to hear a bit about is your amazing handbag brand. Tell us a little bit about how you've ended up with a world-class brand on the North Coast and selling all over the world. It's a great story.
No, thank you. I mean, as you know, I probably should be a bit better, but I'm quite sort of quiet about what we do. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm getting increasingly comfortable with what we do. And I say that purposefully because I think that, it does feel now like it's becoming a global brand. Yeah. I mean, another order dropped in this morning, which was from England. We've sold now to Dubai, we've sold to America quite regularly. But the brand is called Taylor Yates, as you know. We design and have made in England luxury leather handbags. Started from leather jackets, which I'm very fond of. I wanted, my daughter Ellen, who's now 23, I wanted to buy her something for her birthday that was coming up, her 18th. I'd met lots of different people. I wanted to get back into fashion. I hadn't realised it actually, because I'd done the 15 years with or worked there for a long time. Then I went into the family business, and it was design and print, so we were working with lots of different businesses. I was asked to do a lecture at the uni in ethics and marketing, and it was that research and that realisation that things were changing and that businesses could be built with a purpose, not just about building a business that, made loads of money, which clearly is you still need to be profitable, but it was about building a profitable, sustainable business that gave back. That was where I started. And the reason we ended up with handbags was partly because of that conversation with Ellen, where I realised that there was a gap.
Yeah.
Partly because I didn't have a lot of money to start the business. I was lucky enough to sort of have access to about £10,000 to start it, which lots of people told me was impossible, which is where I get a little bit determined.
So is that great? That's the thing that I've always been so impressed with you. There's a little bit of a determination there, because people did tell you that you were crazy.
Yeah. And I think, in fact, about 6 months ago, one of the husbands, because it was quite a lot of family and husbands and friends that bought one of the very first bags, said to me, I thought you were completely off your rocker with that idea. I really thought this was just, he said, but fair play,
and it's worked.
Become, something. We've grown every year.
And do you think that, could you see the vision? Could you see that? And, how do you, I suppose I'm thinking of people who might be listening into this and thinking, how do we encourage people to have that vision and stick with an idea?
Yeah, it's funny. I heard a quote the other day about not letting other people kill your dreams.
Yeah.
And there were definitely people that I didn't talk to about this, like really good friends, and even to a part, in part sometimes family, where I knew that the idea sounded crazy, but I also knew that I could do it, and I needed to just keep going. And actually, one of the first blogs I wrote was about how it takes a lot of determination and focus and just real dig deep grit.
Yeah.
And actually 18 months in, I thought it was over. Literally 18 months. There was just me. Ellen was back. Ellen had started a degree at university. She moved from doing ancient history to fashion and business management, specifically because we'd started this together. And she's got a really good eye for product and colour, and we have similar sort of ideas. But she wasn't there either, and it just felt like I'd learned all the things that we didn't want to do, and it was just like every day seemed to be like another reason not to do this, as opposed to keep going. And again, I just met somebody who said, no, do a sale, don't worry about it, it's not going to affect the brand.
So is that little going. Steps? Is that keep going? Oh, that's
keep
really
going.
Good. Yeah.
Don't worry. It was basically that idea of it's not going to happen overnight. People tell you that a startup, within 3 years you should be starting to feel like you're getting somewhere. Within 5 years, you've got. But actually, I think that depends on the market. Depends where you are. It depends how much money you've got available. And I've never had a lot of cash ready. It wasn't capitalized from the beginning. It was bootstrapped all the way. But then I think the next turning point for us was within the first 6 weeks, we had sold a number of bags up to Christmas, and that was 2016. 2017, we sold less than we sold up to Christmas.
So that's a real test of grit.
It was a real okay. So that's why I was getting to the point of, well, how do I even do this? We did pop-ups on the King's Road, which cost, cash. And I said things like, well, if you can't sell a bag on the King's Road, you'll never sell one anywhere. Didn't sell a bag. You're coming back going, what, why? But we learn. Every single time we learned. We were in the wrong space at the wrong time with the wrong products around us.
And you're selling well in Bushmills.
Well, Bushmills was a complete gift.
Yeah.
So in the July of 2018, in fact, in the February, we got our first break. We got found by British Fashion Council and invited to London Fashion Week. And I was on the prom in Portstewart. I was going to meet somebody for coffee late on a Friday, 4:00, and I listened to his voicemail, and I was like, seriously. And Ellen was landing that night to come home for the weekend, and I phoned her and I went, we've just been invited to London Fashion Week. She was like, no way. And I was straight on the phone to my Investor NI client exec, and I says, anyway, you can help me because I can't afford to do this. And they had it sorted by lunchtime Monday for me, which was phenomenal.
So that was one of the pivots.
That was a moment when we thought, okay, so we can, again, we can do this.
Brilliant.
We met some really good people. We got walked past with, like the devil wears Prada, literally, hair going past us going, come and talk to us. And not, nothing. Didn't sell a thing. Went back in the September, by which stage then Ellen was supposed to work for House of Fraser for a year and ended up doing her year out from uni with me. And that meant we had, we had focus, because all the way through this, I've been involved in 2 other businesses as well. And that people kept telling me, you have to focus, but I was like, well, I can't do this because I need this to pay the bills.
Yeah. And
That
that is a challenge for a startup if somebody's working elsewhere as well. It's very difficult to give it all up and get going.
Yeah, no, totally.
So, I'm thinking, if people are tuning in and they're talking, they've got an idea, or thinking about entrepreneurs at whatever age, but I'm thinking of you as a young entrepreneur. And is there any advice that you would give to people, when you think back on what you've done to date? Is there anything in particular you think, I wish I'd known that then?
Funny, I wish that I had really known that anything was possible. That fearlessness that you talk about, that in fact you were one of the ones that reminded me, where's that fearless 23-year-old? You sort of, things happen to you as you get older and you think you've lost that. I'm fairly comfortable with risk, but I'd become a bit safe, I think.
Okay.
And I think this has really, pushed me out of my comfort zone. The first time we sold a bag, because Alice, all the bags are named after my family. Yeah,
actually, that's a really good story. I know that, but the listeners won't know. So maybe you could tell a little bit about that story.
So all of the handbags we needed, we had the brand. Taylor Yates is my maiden name and my married name, but also Ellen is Ellen Taylor Yates. And we had 5 bags at the beginning, and we knew we wanted to call them something. They weren't just going to be, like a hobo and a clutch and whatever. And we were driving to Belfast, and I said to Ellen, I know what we're going to do. And it was like, we're going to call them after the women I grew up with. None of which, pretty much are here now, but they were really strong Lancashire women, and they were really determined. And my nana ran, a corner shop and trips to Blackpool, and I realised that, somewhere embedded in me was the values.
It's the grit thing, isn't it?
And that, they all worked really, really hard, my mum, everybody. So Alice was the first bag. So Alice was my nana. Mary was her sister.
I have an Alice. So I tuned to that one.
Absolutely. And it's it's a beautiful bag that sort of pulls in at the top as hobo. And then we have Mary, who was her sister, as a tote. Mavis was my aunt, my dad's sister. And then Tilly is the mini version of Alice. That was my dad's nickname for my mum. We unfortunately don't know why, still to this day. But anyway, her name was Norma, but it didn't fit at that stage, so Tilly fitted. And then Doris was the hairdressers at the end of the road. And I spent every Saturday in the hairdressers with those women when they got their hair done, and they all came with their handbags, and it was just part of what we did.
So there's something there about strong women and shaping the business the way you want it.
Yeah, so part of me doesn't want to just be an ordinary brand. Part of me was always about, we want to give back, we want to help other women, whether it's girls or older women. But we've been searching for a long time. We've had our beautiful purpose lunch.
That's right.
Which every year we give back through that. But ultimately, I want us to be a really sustainable, credible brand, and I want the people that buy from us to be conscious consumers. I mean, there's a lot of it about at the moment.
Yeah.
But from the beginning, 5 years ago, when we started this conversation about this brand, it was always about people, planet and purpose.
It's something that's always drawn me to you as well, and the business, because I think we're kindred spirits in that.
Absolutely.
But there's so much more left to do.
There is.
What's the next step for you, Karen?
Well, funny, we actually have, we've discovered a cotton that has seaweed woven into it. And so my next determination is that we'll do something with kelp.
Brilliant.
I love the idea.
You're in the right area.
Yep, we are totally in the right area. So that's, I mean, ultimately it was always about a brand. So it won't just be handbags. It will be a really sort of a small, simple, cool collection of shapes that, you know, make women feel fantastic.
Well, there's absolutely no doubt if you're involved, that's exactly what it'll do. You know, we're very proud of you. It's great to have an entrepreneur who's local here doing what you're doing, and just keep going. You're doing a really good job. And thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you. Thank you. That's great.